The world between worlds? Inquired Mace Windu. Isn't that an old legend? A great deal of the Jedi Council had been assembled in the chambers to hear out the report of Obi Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka. So far, they had been entirely skeptical of the trio's story, except Master Yoda, who, of course, remained as cryptic as always.
Indeed it is.
The hologram of Plo Koon shimmered in his seat.
However, the prospect of a Jedi temple on Lothal is intriguing.
And unheard of. Kit Fisto, who had chosen to be in person, added, The temple archives have no record of such a structure ever existing.
I do believe Master Kenobi's investigation on Kamino proved that the temple records are sometimes incomplete.
Shakti's hologram was being broadcast from Kamino, where she oversaw the training of clone troopers. And as I said, the body of the deceased master wore the old Jedi Order symbol. Obi-Wan spoke, standing in the center of the room, alongside Anakin and Ahsoka. Were you able to identify the body? Asked Windu. Unfortunately, no, Obi-Wan answered. However, we did retrieve his lightsaber and submitted it to the lightsaber archivist for analysis. I've seen him work, Ahsoka added. I think his memory banks will prove to be more trustworthy than the archives. He even remembers when Master Yoda made his saber. Agree, I do, Yoda spoke. However, the discovery of a Jedi temple with all question it, we do not. It is your journey to the world between worlds that we question, Mace Windu finished. What you've told us you've seen is impossible. All three of us saw it, Ahsoka blurted. It was real.
Perhaps you received a vision.
Ki-Adi-Mundi's hologram sat in his seat.
Perhaps it was the dark side attempting to confuse you.
With all due respect, Master, Anakin replied. If the dark side were tempting us, I don't think it would show us things we would find repulsive.
Skywalker has a point,
came Plo Koon's hologram.
I do not believe what they have seen was some manner of collective vision. They may very well have visited this world between worlds.
Thank you, Master Plo, Ahsoka smiled at it. If Palpatine really is a Sith Lord, like he was shown, Mace Windu said, then our worst fears have been realized. He has controlled the Senate and the courts. We can't just apprehend him over the word of 3 Jedi, Kit Fisto added. But we may be able to conduct an investigation of sorts. We'll keep a watchful eye over him and present any evidence we find to the Senate. But to take this task, who should? Yoda inquired. I'll do it. Anakin stepped forward. The Chancellor and I are already good friends. I may be able to keep an eye on him.
You must be careful, young Skywalker,
Plo Koon said.
If the Chancellor is attempting to turn you to the dark side, as these windows showed you, he will intensify his efforts the more time you spend with him.
Agreed, Mace Windu replied. And what of these Order 66? Eth Koth chimed in. How exactly was it triggered? There were chips implanted in the troopers' brains, Ahsoka explained. It programmed them to attack the Jedi if they ever heard the order. In that case, we should conduct an investigation of that as well, Eth Koth replied.
I will aid in the clone investigation,
Shakti offered.
From Kamino, I can study the clones as they are produced.
The Kaminoans won't like that, Kit Fisto pointed out. They won't have a choice, Mace Windu said. In any case, this matter has been settled. Council adjourned. After the meeting, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka walked through the halls of the temple together. You didn't mention what I said about Padme, Anakin said to Obi-Wan. Why? Well, his former master stated, for a while I've had a hunch that you two were seeing each other in one way or another. Anakin tried to hold back his surprise. You did? I figured it would be intrusive to ask if my suspicions were true. And you'll keep my secret. Anakin pleaded. You are going against the Jedi Code, so in theory I should turn you in. Obi Wan smirked. But on the other hand, I believe that I too have violated the same rule you have. Satine, Anakin said. Obi-Wan's face was struck with sadness. Was she still alive? Yes. We'd have to tell them eventually, Ahsoka asked, right? That remains undetermined. Kenobi stroked his chin and thought. We're still in the middle of a war. Hopefully, with this information, we can bring it to a quicker end. Suddenly, the whole building shook, and an explosion echoed through the halls. The 3 Jedi nearly toppled over, but quickly became alert to what was happening. The hangar, Anakin said. I feel it too. A patrol of white and gold temple guards rushed past them, heading towards the source of the disturbance. The 3 followed behind them quickly, arriving at the hangar. The entire room was engulfed in a thick, black smoke, accompanied by roaring flames. Combining their efforts, the trio pushed with the Force, forcing the black cloud away from the source. Their efforts revealed a multitude of charred corpses, many of them clones and hangar mechanics, along with what appeared to be 6 Jedi, their brown robes covered in ash. A few of the clones were still alive. Guards! Anakin shouted to the temple guards. We need medics here, now! The group nodded, and one of them ran back off into the hallways. Who could have done this? Obi-Wan said in shock. Who would willingly attack the Jedi Temple? Ahsoka scanned the scene, seeing a figure garbed in black robes standing clear on the other side of the hangar. They were silently observing the scene, with the hood of their robes obscuring their face. There! She shouted. Across the hangar! Realizing they had been spotted, the figure turned and began fleeing. After him! Anakin yelled. Ahsoka somersaulted over the wreckage, using the Force to propel herself through the air. She landed several meters behind the suspect, and began to pursue them. She chased the perpetrator through the temple, past many open rooms. They made it to a large open hallway, where a trio of temple guards appeared on the opposite end, barring the intruder's way. Cease hostilities, they demanded. The cloaked figure looked between Ahsoka and the temple guards, before they reached into their robes and withdrew a lightsaber, emitting a deep blue blade. A Jedi? Ahsoka said aloud in utter disbelief. Before she could react, the figure charged her, making an attack maniacally with the blade. Ahsoka would have assumed that the perpetrator had stolen this lightsaber. After all, what kind of Jedi would bomb their own temple? But she noticed the individual used form, and was clearly trained in the use of a lightsaber. The 3 guards approached the intruder from behind, bright yellow blades ignited. Throwing a glance over their shoulder, the intruder whirled around and immediately cut down the first guard that advanced. His body fell to the floor, and a smoldering cut sliced into his chest. Ahsoka attempted to attack them from behind, but was met with a flying kick, knocking her off her feet. The remaining 2 guards struggled to handle the intruder, but were cut down by the blue blade. Ahsoka seized their opportunity, using the Force to launch the figure out a window, glass shattered. Ahsoka quickly hopped onto the windowsill, seeing the figure lying on the ground of the Unedi tree courtyard. Their hood had been cast off, but they were facing the ground, struggling to their feet on their hands and knees. Ahsoka descended, pointing her lightsaber blades to the intruder. The perpetrator turned to her, and the Zakruta gasped when she saw who it was. Paris? She asked. The Miriel and Padawan spat on the ground. A shame we have to fight each other, Ahsoka, she said. But why? Ahsoka pleaded. Why bomb the temple? Why betray your fellow Jedi? The Jedi, Varys scoffed. The Jedi have lost their way. This war has changed them, as it has changed the Republic. We've lost our way. We are more like Sith. Ahsoka was near tears, but held steadfast as Varys got to her feet and reignited their lightsaber. The Miriel formed into a battle stance, and Ahsoka did likewise, before the 2 clashed once more. As Ahsoka continued to battle Varys, she could see several Jedi running into the courtyard. Anakin and Obi Wan, along with Kit Fisto, Luminara Unduli, and several others. All of them ignited their lightsabers, forming a brigade of blue and green brilliance. Varys' eyes darted back and forth, desperately trying to find an escape. While she was distracted, Ahsoka mustered all of her strength and assaulted Varys with a massive force push, sending her flying across the courtyard, crashing into the Uneti tree. Ahsoka, along with the rest of the Jedi that had entered the courtyard, approached Varys. The Myrialan apprentice groaned, eyeing the Jedi that had her pinned against the tree. "Well done, Ahsoka," Obi Wan said. A few days later, Varys had been put into a max security prison. There was a special cell in the Republic Center of Military Operations, a cell initially planned to imprison Count Dooku should the time ever come. It was incredibly secure, with no way to see out, and thick walls that dulled the senses of whoever was inside, preventing them from using the Force on anyone outside the cell. Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka had been gathered in the Jedi Temple War Room, where Shakti had contacted them with an update from the Kamino investigation.
After a great deal of difficulty, the Kaminoans allowed us to study some of the fully grown troopers.
Her hologram spoke.
We did a thorough atomic-level scan of an individual trooper's brain, and discovered one of the chips you spoke of. Afterwards, we did similar scans on 2 other troopers, and found they too had chips in their brains.
"Did you remove them?" Ahsoka asked.
"Yes."
Shakti replied.
Afterwards, we checked the birthing chambers, and discovered that the chips were implanted in the earliest stages of development. With this evidence, we were able to issue an order across the entire city to have all the clones there processed to remove these chips.
What about the clones across the galaxy?
The hologram of Commander Wolf inquired, standing next to Plo Koon's hologram.
There's so many of us out there. We all have those chips. We can't just stop the war to remove them.
We have thought that through.
Shakti answered.
We have sent several medical frigates to every known front of the war, with reference scans depicting the chip's location and the necessary equipment to perform the surgeries. It may take at least a month, but we can ensure that every trooper of the Republic will have their chips removed.
At least it's being taken care of.
Plo Koon's hologram piped up.
What of the Supreme Chancellor? Skywalker, have you found anything?
Not yet, Anakin said. I've been preoccupied with helping to clean up after the temple bombing, so I haven't had the chance. As the conversation continued, Ahsoka spotted a clone trooper with gray markings appear alongside Plo Koon's hologram, whispering something into his ear. Once the trooper walked away, Plo Koon called for everyone's attention.
I've just been given information that may ease everyone's concern.
Plo Koon announced.
It would appear that Darth Maul has been captured, fleeing from a separatist cruiser. He is currently being held aboard the Tribunal, not far outside the Stygian system.
That is good news, Anakin mused. If we can keep Maul secure, that's one less Sith we have to worry about.
I will arrange for the Tribunal to return to Coruscant. Hopefully, we can find a way to keep him contained.
Keeping Maul in one place difficult it will be, Yoda pointed out. I agree with Master Yoda, Obi-Wan butted in. I found that Maul is incredibly resistant to capture. Master Plo informed the crew of the Tribunal that they should keep guns trained on Maul at all times, Anakin said. Plo Koon nodded.
In the meantime, Commander Wolf and I are continuing our siege on Cato Nemoria. With every passing day, we get closer to capturing the capital.
Anakin, Master Windu caught the Jedi's attention. You should inform the Chancellor of Maul's capture. His reaction may give us clues as to where his true intentions lie. Yes, Master. Anakin gave a polite bow before exiting the war room. Anakin flew a Jedi airspeeder over to the senatorial apartments, resisting the urge to visit Padme on the way to see the Chancellor. After seeing what Palpatine was planning to do via the world between worlds, Anakin was not only beginning to resent the Supreme Chancellor, but also became scared of him. If Palpatine was the powerful Sith Lord that they believed him to be, who knew what he was capable of? Anakin entered the Chancellor's personal apartment, finding the hallway inside flanked by red-robed Senate guards. Anakin. Palpatine swiveled in his chair to see him, his face bearing a warm smile. It is good to see you, old friend. It's good to see you as well, Chancellor. Anakin nodded. Palpatine motioned at the guards. Leave us. Both the guards bowed and exited the apartment, leaving Anakin and Palpatine alone. I hope you've brought good news. Palpatine stood up from his chair, approaching Anakin with his hands folded behind his back. The Jedi folded his hands in front of him. We've received word that the rogue Sith, Darth Maul, has been captured by our forces. Anakin made sure to leave out the location, in case the potential Sith Lord planned on doing any meddling. That is good news, Palpatine said, his face faltering only slightly, showing a tinge of frustration. Do you know where he is? Anakin decided to play the part of a Padawan upset with the Jedi, lulling Sidious into trusting him. The Council refused to inform me of that, he lied. They don't trust you. Anakin rested a hand on Anakin's shoulder, which made the Jedi a bit uncomfortable, given his recent discovery. They're underestimating your abilities. Anakin knew this was partly true, but not without reason. They didn't want him to unleash his raw power, in the worry that he may tap into the dark side. Anakin would admit he had gotten a little carried away a few times over the course of the war. He force-choked Poggle the Lesser into giving over information, and he had nearly killed Rako Hardeen for murdering Obi Wan, who had actually faked his death as he learned. Not to mention the numerous times he would lose control and attack with relentless fury. I haven't even earned the rank of Master yet, Anakin played along, imitating a childish tantrum. It's not fair. I agree, old friend, Palpatine said. The Jedi are... He was cut off by the apartment door opening, followed by the entry of Maz Amena. Forgive my intrusion, Chancellor, the Grand Visor spoke, but the delegation from the banking clan is here to meet with you. Palpatine sighed. Very well then, Anakin. I will be happy to see you after my meeting to continue our discussion. The Chancellor followed Maz Amena out of the apartment room, and Anakin watched them go, standing in place. As soon as they were out of the door and shut it behind them, he hurried to the Chancellor's table and opened up the data archives. A hologram appeared, showing multiple documents of various political importance. Anakin sifted through the documents until he found one that stood out from the others. It was unmarked, but he realized some of the document was written in Geonosian, with Arabic translations underneath. Anakin opened the document, revealing it to be blueprints for some sort of interstellar battle station, capable of hyperspace travel and a superweapon? Anakin searched through the Chancellor's desk, finding a drawer containing data tapes. He took one and inserted it into the desk's outlet, downloading the planets onto the disk. Anakin put it in his pocket, and then pulled up the communication log of his holoprojector. Many of the transmissions seemed to be rather unsuspecting, mostly communications between the Chancellor and other politicians, senators, and representatives. One of the more recent ones stood out to him, being a transmission sent to the Chancellor from the Stygian Prime system. Anakin played back the transmission. The projector emitted a hologram that Anakin recognized as Count Dooku, and he knit his brow in rage at seeing the Count. It abruptly shifted, showing a hooded figure that was almost unmistakable as being Palpatine.
Speak, Lord Tyrannus.
The hologram of Palpatine said, before it shifted back to Dooku, who was kneeling and bowing his head.
I have unfortunate news, my master.
Dooku's hologram replied.
It would seem that your former apprentice, Darth Maul, has escaped.
Escaped?
Palpatine said, his tone becoming frustrated.
How did he accomplish this?
He had help from his Shadow Collective, along with a squad of Mandalorian warriors.
Death Watch.
Palpatine growled, his eyes shining out of the darkness of his hood.
It is imperative to our plan that you capture him.
The hooded Palpatine ordered.
Do not fail me again, Tyrannus.
It will be done, my master.
The playback of the recording ended. Anakin continued to sift through the recordings, finding many more between the Chancellor and Count Dooku. He took another data tape out of the desk and downloaded the transmissions onto them. He then shut off the desk's projector and hurried to exit the apartment. The evidence he had found here would definitely be sufficient enough for the Jedi's investigation.